thank you for giving us your time today as we bring to you another episode of our Once a Lawyer series. Today we have with us Raghav Patnaik. Welcome, Raghav.
Hi, good evening. Very nice to be with all of you.
Same here, Raghav. To introduce Raghav, Raghav completed his law from NLSIU Bangalore in 2006 and began his career as a legal advisor with Globo Sport. For the last 15 years, he has been working extensively across diverse roles in the field of sports and has been involved in brand advisory, marketing management, legal consulting, licensing and merchandising, to name a few. In 2018, Raghav launched Demela, which is India's leading sports apparel and merchandise brand, specializing in custom teamwear and accessories. Now we have Raghav with us for the next half an hour, where we'll attempt to meet the man behind Demela. Over to you, Shazir.
Thank you, Nilasha.
Yeah.
So Raghav, looking at your profile, the first thing that I would like to know and would like our viewers to know is that what do you like about sports? And do you play any sport yourself?
Well, thanks for that quick summary of my work life, and worked extensively is flattering to me. I've been in the domain extensively, whether I worked or not. It's not felt like work. Let me put it that way. And sports been something that's been growing up as a defense kid. We were always exposed to a variety of sporting facilities in different naval bases. My dad was Indian Navy, so you always had great facilities and great people to play with. And sort of was drilled into the discipline of growing up on a naval campus that everyone, from kids to the uncles, of which I am one now, were all engaged in sporting activities. So it was almost by osmosis that you got an interest, developed an interest in watching sport, playing sport. My father probably crushed my dreams to play for India, cricket for India at age 13 or 14, and it's the best thing he ever did for me, because I would have been no good, just a washed up guy thinking I didn't get a chance, I wouldn't have done it. But I was never really good enough as an athlete. But the spirit of sport is something that always attracted me. The spirit of fair play, the spirit of competition, but playing hard, playing fair, playing team sport had a different attraction to me. Playing individual sport meant getting more out of yourself, and I found myself attracted to both. I enjoy the sport of life. I do enjoy watching sport. In the last 15 years have been phenomenal because I've had the opportunity to tap into the mindset of several elite athletes, cricket captains of India, Olympic medalists, race car drivers. My journey has taken me some nice places and allowed me to see the sport that you don't see on TV, the sports persons that you don't see on TV, their struggles. And aside of everything else that I do today with Demela, I also mentor is a strong word, but I sort of help elite athletes one-on-one on the mental side of their performance, what their anxiety. I'm no qualified psychologist by any means, but I'm just a guy that they can speak with, and I can say some things back to them. Believe it or not, I'm listening in those conversations. And I find those experiences, the behind the scenes of sport, really interesting. But the square answer, do I play any sport? I do a lot of walking now because I've set some personal goals for myself. And I've just completed 220 days of non-stop 10 kilometers a day, which I'm trying to get better at. Sometime last year I looked in the mirror, and this is very Virat Kohli-esque, and I said I didn't like what I see, and I'm happy to share that I've lost a third of my body weight, which is still very far from my goal weight because there is a lot to do.
That's
Thank you, Raghav. And your passion for sports is really inspiring, and your journey sounds really interesting. Raghav, what I'd like to also ask is, what made you transition towards a career relating to the sports industry? Was there one particular moment wherein you felt that, yes, this is what I'd like to do? Or was it a series of events that culminated into you making this decision?
That's a brilliant question. Makes me reflect. And uh, law schools is an amazing place, and you meet amazing people, incredible people from different backgrounds, different worldviews, and it was in that space where, over a casual conversation, let's just say over chai, we had we were talking about how there is so little room for sport in law school, and this is around the end of my fourth year, and there are all these committees that manage different things, right? And there is, to me, if you ask me, law school in a single line is a place where you get to pass out many times before you graduate once, right? So I was having way too much fun, enjoying those 5 years, at least those 4 years at that point, to not be bothered about putting committees and getting onto committees and putting them and padding my resume or any of that stuff. And none of the other whether it was debating, like Ritwik was big into L&D, and so many others did so many fascinating things, being on law school committees. It never spoke to me to say that, okay, I'm going to do this. But one particular conversation, so when the apple fell on my head, was I spoke very passionately then about how, with the infrastructure we have around law school, we could really have a better, more inclusive sports culture, not just for the guys but for the girls as well. And someone turned around and said, you got a lot of talk. What are you going to do about it? So for the first time in my fifth year, quite counterintuitively, I applied to get onto a committee. Law school used to organize something called Spiritus, which was very young then. It was the inter law school. It was the inter university sports festival, and we used to bring in a lot of non-law colleges there. So essentially, it was an invitation to bring really good sports quota athletes to come and embarrass us on our own turf. And the engagement levels were much lower within the campus, because who wants to see the home team lose? So that year, we took a decision to, I said, let's change the format and make it law schools only. So it like versus like, and now we'll see. So that's the year in which it changed. And I had to do a lot of, we had to now make it large. And Sports Authority of India and its beautiful South Campus is a stone's throw away from law school. Yeah. I went and requested them if we could use their facilities to make this a really grand event. It is at this point that they wholeheartedly agreed, asking only in exchange that we give them a sports law module developed by law school. I didn't bat an eye. I think the salesman in me was very much alive. And I said, for sure. I mean, we're the best law school in the country. I'm sure we can turn around a sports law module for you. You're young and you commit anything. So then the event happened. They opened up everything. So now suddenly people are coming and playing at these world-class facilities built by Sports Authority of India for elite athletes. And we were just sort of playing our very amateur levels of badminton and cricket on those grounds. The tournament was done, good success, everyone's happy. And then I got called back by Sports Authority of India asking, hey, good job. When is the sports law module happening? And that's when the panic set in, because I asked around among, no names, but I asked around on the faculty at the time, and everyone said, yeah, your guess is as good as mine. So, and this will date me significantly, but I spent a couple of sleepless nights in the dungeon that we used to call the computer lab, because the year was 2005 and not everyone had a laptop just then. And I just emailed every person I could find in the world that was teaching or involved with sports law. And universe is a kind place. People wrote back. Some sent me content, some sent me modules. So I took it upon myself then to compile. I mean, by the time you get to fifth year law school, you're pretty good at compiling voluminous documents that you don't know much about. This is something that I'm sure resonates with anyone that spent time studying law for 5 years. So it was interesting. I put it together and I gave it to them with no expectation. I was like, okay, this loop is closed and I can get on with my life. And they rang me back 2 days later saying, this is fantastic. We'd like the professors that made this to come and conduct a 2-day workshop. So then I said, the professors are very busy. This is the law school. I will conduct the workshop. Wow. So then there I was from one, and the lie was getting bigger, but the dream also. So I conducted the workshops completely on my own, and Sai was, Sports Authority of India was very happy with it. And that's when it really attracted me. I said, this is a domain I enjoy. So it was one of those things, like I said, it wasn't a single moment, it was a collection of moments. And um, when I was done with that, and I was interning for the first time with a law firm in my fifth year, because I had never, I was sort of clear that I didn't want to be in a law firm. I mean, just my own view of the world. I had done every internship of mine was a litigation internship, except for the human rights ones that you do in the first year. So I was doing, I interned with Raman Mahesh Jetlani, a number of other civil and constitutional lawyers, and I enjoyed litigating because I enjoyed noting. So I was like, okay, this is what my career is going to be. But then there I am, and 4 months away from graduating, obviously not sitting for campus recruitment because I wasn't interested in any of the campus jobs, thinking, is my life going to go in a different direction? And that's when I looked out. And that's the path that took me to Global Sport, which is the only agency at the time that was that would write back. And one accident leads you to the next, and before you know it, 15 years have passed, and you're still trying to figure out what life is. I should say one thing though, for relatability, in my introduction, Nilasha, thank you so much. But law school is a crazy place, and if any of my law school friends are watching, they probably have not much correlation between Raghavendra Patnaik and Raghav Patnaik, because everyone had a nickname. And I had a nickname that I used from childhood, so I used to go as Taflu. So in the law school fraternity, I was Taflu everywhere. So just for authenticity, I think it's important to put it out there that I'm still Taflu, but to all my law school friends.
Thank you, Raghav. That was very interesting. So we'd also, of course, like to know what Demela does, and what does the name Demela signify?
Well, thank you for asking. Demela, as you so kindly said, is one of India's leading sportswear, apparel, and lifestyle brands. Demela, the name itself it comes from the Lesotho language, Southern African origin. I encountered it in the books. The number one ladies detective agency that then got made into an HBO series. Beautiful, simple stories set in Botswana. And Demela is a way of greeting, not unlike Namaste. So if I met you, Shazar, I'd say Demela Rah, and you'd say Demela Rah back to me. And if I met Nilasha, I'd greet her, irrespective of time of day, as Demela Ma, and you'd say Demela Ra. So you greet a lady as Ma and a gentleman as Ra. And it's much like Namaste, it has various subliminal meanings, loosely translated into a limiting language like English. Three broad pillars. I see the great potential in you. I believe in you. I affirm you. And I found that as a beautiful message because there was a gap in the market that brought me to Demela. So when I was consulting to the ICC and working on the fan merchandise program for the 2015 World Cup, I realized that between what we do at the local sports store level and between the global MNC brands like Nike, Adidas, etc., there is a huge underserved market, and we just end up playing in whatever we can fit into or whatever we can get. And I felt that there is a space to create a brand in India that is engineered well from the ground up on a D2D model, which is designed to delivery model. So we have in-house design teams, we have in-house execution teams. Again, none of them from the apparel background. The factories know what they're doing. They don't need me to tell them which way to run the stitches. But they need us to have imagination so that we can serve. We can go beyond the norm in what is a very slow to change industry. So we've been disruptive in the markets that we've been in. So today we ship to over 20 countries. We work across 15 sport. We have a representative office in Australia. We have channel partners in the UK, in North America, and I'm very grateful for it. I don't mean any of this as any sort of humble brag. I'm just very grateful for it because all we're trying to do is make a small dent in the universe, and it's an entirely passion driven or kindness driven company. So the idea is not to go IPO in 4 years and buy myself a yacht. I like swimming. I jump off a rented yacht. I don't want to buy myself a yacht.
We've gone through your website, and I must say, a beautiful website that is. On the website, it seems that you've given a lot of importance to responsible manufacturing. We'd like to know, what do you mean by responsible manufacturing?
Well, thank you for spending time on the site and for specifically going into this aspect of it. It means the world that we, to me and to everyone at Demela, that we make these products. As I explained to you earlier, this entire our approach to everything is to build things with kindness, with affection, with good spirit, but not just to our customers, but also to the environment, and very much to our supply chain. So one of the downsides of being a labor surplus economy at the best of times is that we don't pay the kind of attention that we should. Or so going in, it was very important to me to make sure that our supply chain was bereft of any of those violations, even if it meant that every product we made cost more. The cost was only cash or money. It wasn't a human cost, and that's something that helps me sleep better. That makes me proud of what we've built. I mean, the on the nose stuff is things like child labor, etc. But it goes far beyond that. It goes on to how well your factory staff are taken care of, and it's tricky because you don't own these establishments. They work on hire for you. So how do you implement a code that is important to you but may not be so down the chain? And that means a series of conversations of saying, hey, this is how it's got to be. The same sort of philosophy extends on to our packaging. We're now trying to move to a plastic-free paradigm as best as we can in our packaging. We try to use as much material that we can recycle. We're using fabrics that are recycled. So that's what responsible manufacturing is about. And a slightly different tangent from that, Shazar, is also something that we're launching within Demela very soon. We have 3 very interesting projects, but I feel like sometimes when you're in a country of 1.5 billion people, and anyone who's been on the big side of the ledger will tell you this, that buying big people's clothing is very difficult in India. And I feel it's sort of irresponsible because that brands don't do it. That if you get to a certain plus size, you're just having to buy some. You have very limited choices, and you're buying some real terrible stuff, or getting it from overseas. And what we're going to do with our plus size offering is take everything that's the best of what we create for our entire range of apparel and make it available for men and women, because I want to break this cycle, which is a very vicious cycle that I don't want to get out and do fitness because I'm conscious of my appearance. I'm conscious of my appearance because I don't really have clothes that fit my current shape, and hence I don't get out. And that body and self-image stuff that finds you in front of a TV with a bag of chips, and you're only perpetuating the problem. So, with our plus size range of clothing that we're going to be launching soon, we would have already launched it, but COVID, we sometime next year, in the first couple of quarters of 2022, we will launch our plus size offering.
That is extremely interesting. And I think at this point, I'd like to ask you, Raghav, what is the scope of sports law in the country today? And what do you think is the future of the same?
That's a brilliant question, and I get asked this question very frequently. The future of sports law in this country is absolutely linked. It's strapped to the chest of the future of the sports business and the sports industry and the sports economy, and which is why if the sports business grows, the sports industry grows, the sports economy grows, sports law will grow. I mean, you need just
it's 7 o'clock.
You need transactions.
Okay.
When there are transactions, there is the need for lawyers and all of that. So when the size and scale of the industry grows, and it is growing, you will require more practitioners. People have always derived comfort from, oh, I've got my law firm that does this, so never mind that they don't do sports law, but somebody will figure it out. How difficult can it be? It's not difficult at all. It's definitely not rocket science. But I think there is something to be said of people who are in and off the domain. The best lawyers are the ones that understand what the business is trying to do. If you understand how the sports business works, the nuts and bolts of it, the advice is far more relevant. Especially when it comes to athletes and sports persons. I mean, if you there's a huge difference in how we see a contract and how a non-legal person, regardless of their stature, sees a contract. They see it as an impediment. I mean, it's for you and I, it's English at the end of the day. For them, it's like this is what's stopping me from getting the advance before I go to the shoot. But there's greater appreciation that the sports industry, as it grows, will create more sports lawyers. I caution people that come to me or ask me about, hey, I want to be a sports lawyer. Should I go to X country and do this LLM and then become? I'll come back and then suddenly I'll be managing Virat Kohli, and I tell them that, I set up the agency that manages Virat Kohli right now, and I don't have no foreign LLM. So you don't necessarily need that. What you do need, if you want to be a good sports lawyer, is as much immersion as you can get for yourself in the sports business. Understand it for its nuts and bolts. Try to get into any door possible, and be prepared to wait to understand. The better you understand the sports industry, the more perspectives you look at it from, the better sports lawyer you will be. I mean, this is all assuming that you have a foundational solidity in the law itself. I mean, you can't be like, I'm not too interested in contracts, and I'm not too interested in IP, but because my passion is sports, so I'm going to snooze through those classes or not worry about those, and then suddenly I'm just going to become a sports lawyer. The stronger your foundations are in the law, the stronger you have love for the law, the better sports lawyer you will be.
Okay, yeah. I agree with that. Raghav, you started off, like you mentioned, with a legal role post completing law school, which was Globosport, and then you moved on to varied and diverse roles. So how did your initial legal stint and network help you in your journey to be where you are today? And if you could also have some insights on the fact, what would you advise someone who's looking to make this transition or looking to make the jump?
Well, you're absolutely right. I did start off as in a strictly legal role. At least that's what my business card said. But I feel like if whether as a lawyer or as an individual or as a person in a relationship, as a human being, if you have to be successful, if you have to be effective, you have to understand the totality of what you are immersed in. So the transition is not really a transition from legal to business. It was an immersion that if I don't understand the business that I'm in, if I don't understand the objectives of my employer at that time and the athletes or the sponsors or the partners that they were working with, why do A and B want to meet at this table and get this contract of X pages done? I am not the typist. I am a facilitator, right? And when you have to understand yourself as a facilitator, you have to, in fairness, understand the business, because otherwise you are just executing what a brief or a mandate. And when you create those kind of contracts, and when you do all of that, you start out doing a document and having a few discussions about it, working off a term sheet, but very quickly, if you're committed to doing the best you can with the job at hand, I don't see the two things as different. You have to align yourself with the business side of things, with the company's objectives or with the client's objectives, and hence it is not as if there is a wall that one has to climb over to jump to transition from the legal side to the business side. In my view, if you're a lawyer and you're a good lawyer, you're de facto sunk into being a good businessman.
And that makes me curious to ask, is there a window of possibility that you've ever thought of going back to a full-time legal role? Or is that something that you've not thought of at this point?
So this is the opportunity for me to sort of respond like Dhoni and say, you will see me in yellow, but and leave it at that. No, I mean, full-time laws, it's an interesting question. So the temptation, right? The temptation to do law as my only job is always high because I love the law. Having said that, You have to temper it with reality. It is one of those. It is a very demanding profession as far as time is concerned, and as far as staying relevant is concerned. So things change very quickly. If you need to be at the top of your game, you need to be immersed in every small thing that happens. And to me, the only reason why, perhaps the overriding reason why, I did not want to be in full-time law in the traditional sense. I mean, being an in-house counsel, okay, sort of one, if you really had to do it, you could, right? And bear with me as I take you on a philosophical ride. For me, it's okay to waste a little bit of time. It's okay to waste a little bit of potential, but it's definitely not okay to waste your privilege, right? And I've if you're lucky to have privilege, and I have privilege in the fact that my entire ecosystem, my wife, the best thing I took from law school was my wife, and her and I are so well aligned in the way that we look at the world, that we understand that the thing that we need to be really affluent in is time. So I am the Mukesh Ambani of time. There, I said it, right? And so the thing that keeps me away from full-time law at one end is not being able to have that flexibility or that absolute control over how I choose to spend the 12 months of the year. And it's got its own opportunity costs. And, it's a trade-off you make, and you can choose to, we chose early in the piece to live a life that allows us to be rich in time more than anything else. None of this, of course, is a judgment on anyone that takes any other path. I mean, this is a world full of paths, and each one must have their own.
So, Raghav, looking at the current scenario, what challenges has COVID brought for your business? We'd like to know that.
Well, it was tough, and it continues to be tough, because when you create a teamwear business, you're really the bulk of your business is B2B, business to business, and it's all institutional. So what is my client mix? My client mix is sports teams, education institutions, corporates, and within that, and anyone that's doing an event, right? So when COVID happened, school shut, sports shut, everyone worked from home, and all events got cancelled. So whereas we had an expansion pipeline for a lot of things, you sort of had to put those things on hold, and it was challenging, because as a business that was getting into its fourth year, there was a certain trajectory we had thought for ourselves, and so you took some time. We actually used that, and I will come to it in just a second. We used these challenges to spin something completely new, and I'm so proud of myself, of my team, for rolling with the punches, if you will, right? Tactically, what we did is, we're an apparel manufacturer, so we quickly realized that there's going to be a need for masks, so we did masks. And I really feel like saying this, so I'm going to put it out there. Sachin Malan, who absolute legend in my eyes. I, in fact, briefly, while in law school, was a teacher for law school tutorials at that time, and such a small world. Interacted with Lee and several other guys from that era. Sachin Malan is an absolute legendary influence in my life. I mean, I haven't spoken to him in a few years, but I recently got wonderful what's called Once a Lawyer with Sachin, and I sort of felt like he said everything that I would want to say, or anybody should need to hear. That's the last word on, and he's like that with everything. But the reason I reference him is that he said in that Once a Lawyer about being a maker, right? And creativity is something that that drives him as it drives me. So we quickly transitioned to trying to understand what this no contact paradigm can mean in a COVID environment, and we built foot pedal sanitizers. So got some people together, nothing to do with our apparel business, but we worked the supply chain. We built something, designed something beautiful, and 50 of those are at the Karnataka High Court. I mean, thanks to again friends from law school that arranged that, and we put it into apartment buildings. We try to do our bit. Just I think the main objective was that what can you do sitting at home, and what can you do when your primary business is not up and running. We innovated, and we also try to not be rusty ourselves. But the biggest thing that we took from the COVID challenge was that I launched something internally called Demela Fit, which was, we're all just going to get healthier. We started as a 60-day challenge, and now my entire team is just shredded. They're in the peak fitness of their lives. We're all trying. I mean, I feel fitter and younger than I have in 20 years, and it's now led to a point where Demela Fit is going to become a platform that we're going to launch. I feel like there's in the health and wellness space, there's a conversation that university campuses and offices are waiting to have, that they need to have. There's an unnecessary aggrandization of burning the midnight oil, which is completely off the circadian clock of the human body. So we're going to do something that brings movement, walking, eating, sleeping, mindfulness, all onto a single platform without being preachy at all, without creating anything new, but just bringing everything known and respected onto a single platform.
I must say, I am also quite motivated to join Demela Fit whenever Demela Fit happens.
Wonderful, man. Make sure you're the first to know.
Of course. All right, Raghav. So here we'll very quickly play a small game. This is the Would You Rather. Very quickly, we'll give you two choices, and you have to just choose the thing that you would prefer out of the two options.
Okay.
All right. Shall we begin? No time to think, though.
Okay.
All right.
Great. So, Raghav, would you rather play football or basketball?
Football.
Okay.
All right. Big city life or serene country living?
Country living.
If you had to eat one cuisine for the rest of your life, which I know is very difficult, which one would it be?
Korea food.
Oh.
All right. Worst fitness fad you've witnessed?
Low fat diet.
Your favorite athlete of all times across all sports?
Sachin Tendulkar.
All right. And what qualities do you think an athlete needs to be successful?
Integrity, authenticity, hard work.
Wow, that really sums it up.
Yes, absolutely.
Great.
All right. Thank you so much, Raghav. It was an absolute pleasure speaking with you today. Conversations with you just leave us captivated and energized, I must say. Thank you for taking out the time for this, and we look forward to connecting with you soon.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. You've both been very kind, and I'm grateful for the opportunity. I look forward to meeting you all soon, and all the very best to everyone at Vahura. Once a Lawyer, great initiative. All the best, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much,
Likewise,
Raghav. It was a
Raghav.
pleasure speaking to
Thank
you
you so
today.
much.
Take care.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thanks, Nazir.
Thank you, Natasha.
Thank you.